All right, so today we're really taking a deep dive, into how your circulatory system reacts when it's under pressure,
Yeah.
from a hard workout to some really intense situation.
Res.
Think of it as like going behind the scenes to see how your body keeps going when things get rough.
Yeah.
Our guide for this deep dive is a physiology handout from Dr. Rasha Eldeeb.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
It's full of all these insights into how blood vessels and heartbeats and all that stuff works,
Yeah.
and also how your body has to make tough decisions when it comes to like literally keeping you alive.
It really highlights the adaptability of the circulatory system.
Yeah.
It's constantly fine-tuning itself to
Right.
keep everything running smoothly, even when it's faced with pretty dramatic changes.
So let's start with something we can all relate to.
Okay.
Exercise.
Sure.
Our muscles are like screaming for oxygen and nutrients.
Yeah.
To keep those legs pumping or lifting weights or whatever it is you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
What's happening inside? What's the circulatory system doing to keep up?
Well, think of it like this. Your body knows you need more oxygen delivered to those working muscles, stat.
Right.
So it kicks things into high gear with a two-pronged approach.
Okay.
So first, your heart rate and stroke volume, that's the amount of blood pumped with each beat increase.
Okay.
This leads to a surge in cardiac output,
Mhm.
meaning more blood is being pushed out with every single beat.
Yeah, I can definitely feel my heart pounding during a good workout.
But that's your heart working hard.
Yeah?
But it's not just about pumping more blood.
Okay.
It's about making sure it gets to the right places.
Mm.
And that's where the concept of shunting comes in.
Okay.
It's like your body becomes a traffic controller, redirecting blood flow to where it's needed most.
So my muscles are getting VIP treatment.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Your heart and lungs are working overtime during exercise, so they need a constant supply of oxygen-rich blood and those working muscles.
Yeah.
They get a huge boost in blood supply.
Oh,
We're talking a tenfold increase.
Tenfold. Wow. I knew blood flow increased during exercise, but I had no idea it was that much.
Yeah.
So are there any organs that actually get less blood flow during a workout?
Exactly.
Right.
While your muscles are getting the red carpet treatment,
Right.
blood flow to other organs, like your kidneys and digestive system, is temporarily reduced.
Okay.
They're not essential for that immediate physical exertion.
So it's like your body is saying, hold on, digestion, we've got bigger fish to fry right now.
That's a great way to put it. It's a brilliant adaptation.
Right.
Your body is incredibly efficient at prioritizing resources.
It makes you realize that feeling your heart pounding during exercise is actually a good sign, right?
Yeah.
It's your body working hard to keep you going.
Exactly.
It's a testament to incredible coordination of your circulatory system.
It is.
But let's shift gears now
Okay.
and imagine a more serious situation. A sudden, significant loss of blood.
Mm-hmm.
What happens inside the body when we're talking about something as scary as a hemorrhage?
It's definitely a race against time.
Yeah.
The body immediately kicks into survival mode.
Right.
That sudden drop in blood pressure triggers a whole cascade of responses,
Yeah.
all aimed at keeping those vital organs, like your brain and heart, alive and functioning.
So it's like an all-hands-on-deck situation.
You got it. The first responders are these amazing pressure sensors called baroreceptors.
Okay.
They detect the drop in blood pressure
Mm.
and send urgent signals to the brain,
Right.
which activates the sympathetic nervous system, our fight-or-flight response.
So that's where the adrenaline rush comes in.
Exactly. Adrenaline surges into the bloodstream.
Right.
And it's like stepping on the gas pedal for your heart.
Mm-hmm.
It increases heart rate even further and tells those blood vessels to constrict or squeeze tighter to help maintain blood pressure.
So it's like squeezing a hose to make the water pressure stronger.
That's a perfect analogy. But it's not just about adrenaline.
Okay.
Two other hormones join the party: ADH, or antidiuretic hormone, and angiotensin II. They're like backup singers, adding to the effect.
What do those hormones do?
Well, ADH helps your body hold on to water, increasing blood volume. Think of it as refilling the tank.
Okay.
And angiotensin II is like the ultimate clamp,
Mm-hmm.
further constricting blood vessels to boost blood pressure even more.
Okay.
It's all about maintaining something called perfusion.
Right.
That just means making sure blood is reaching those vital organs.
So it's not just about stopping the bleeding. It's about keeping the brain and heart alive until help arrives.
Precisely. But there's a limit to how long these emergency measures can work.
Okay.
If the blood loss is too severe or treatment is delayed, the body enters a very dangerous state called hypovolemic shock.
And that's where things get really serious.
Yes. Hypovolemic shock is life-threatening.
Hmm.
It means the body's best efforts aren't enough and blood flow to vital organs becomes dangerously low.
So it's like the body has used up all its emergency reserves and is starting to lose the battle.
That's a good way to think about it. But hypovolemic shock is just one type of circulatory shock.
Right.
There are others, and they all have the same scary outcome. Not enough blood reaching vital organs.
So what are these other types of shock? Are they all caused by blood loss?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
There's also something called vascular shock,
Mhm.
which happens when blood vessels dilate too much.
Okay.
It's like suddenly having a much larger container for the same amount of fluid. The pressure just plummets.
So what would cause that kind of sudden dilation?
Things like severe allergic reactions, which we call anaphylactic shock,
Right.
or widespread infections like sepsis,
Okay.
which can lead to septic shock.
So it's like the blood vessels just lose their ability to maintain pressure,
Right.
even if there's enough blood in the system.
Exactly. And then there's cardiogenic shock, which is all about the heart itself.
So the pump is failing.
Exactly. If the heart can't pump effectively,
Right.
blood flow drops, and we're back to that same dangerous situation.
Right.
Not enough blood reaching those vital organs. This could be caused by a heart attack,
Right.
severe valve problems, or other heart conditions.
So we've got three different culprits.
Yeah.
Blood loss, blood vessel problems, and heart problems.
Yeah.
But ultimately, the same dangerous outcome.
Yeah,
Those vital organs are being starved of oxygen-rich blood.
that's right.
And the consequences, as you can imagine, can be dire if it's not caught and treated quickly.
Absolutely.
So let's go back to hypovolemic shock for a minute,
Okay.
since it's directly related to the hemorrhage we were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
What does it look like when the body enters that dangerous state? Does it happen all at once?
Actually, hypovolemic shock progresses in stages.
Okay.
The first stage is called compensated shock. It's like the body's putting up a good fight.
right.
Remember all those emergency responses we talked about?
Yeah.
Well, now they're working overtime.
So the heart is racing, blood vessels are constricted, and the body is desperately trying to hold on to every drop of fluid.
Exactly. But if that's not enough to stabilize things, we enter the second stage, irreversible or progressive shock.
Irreversible. That sounds ominous.
It is. It's like a downward spiral.
Yeah.
Those initial compensatory mechanisms start to fail,
Mhm.
and a cascade of negative events takes over,
Okay.
further reducing blood flow and leading to more and more organ damage.
So it's like a domino effect.
Mm-hmm.
One problem makes the next one worse, and it just keeps going.
That's a good way to put it.
Right.
The heart, which was already working so hard,
Mm-hmm.
starts to weaken because it's not getting enough blood itself.
Right.
And the brain,
Yeah.
which is the control center for everything,
Mhm.
starts to malfunction as it gets starved of oxygen.
And if the brain isn't working properly, the whole system starts to fall apart.
Exactly.
Really
It's a
bad.
truly devastating cascade of events.
So it sounds like early intervention is absolutely crucial in a situation like this.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
The longer the body remains in this state of shock, the more damage occurs and the harder it is to recover. Treatment focuses on addressing the underlying cause, whether it's blood loss, heart failure, or infection, and supporting the circulatory system with fluids, medications, and sometimes even mechanical assistance.
So it's a race against time to break that vicious cycle and restore balance.
Precisely. Understanding the mechanisms of hypovolemic shock
Yeah.
and recognizing the signs early on can be life-saving.
But let's step away from those acute emergency situations for a moment.
Okay.
Talk about a more chronic stressor on the circulatory system. Hypertension or high blood pressure?
Hypertension is often called the silent killer
Yeah.
because it can go undetected for years,
Right.
silently damaging blood vessels and organs.
So it's like a slow, steady pressure instead of the sudden shock of a hemorrhage.
Exactly.
Right.
But while it might not seem as dramatic, the long-term consequences of untreated hypertension can be just as devastating.
Yeah.
We're talking heart failure, stroke, kidney damage, and even aneurysms, those weakened spots in blood vessels that can rupture.
That's a scary list. So what causes this chronic high blood pressure in the first place? Is it all about stress?
Stress definitely plays a role, but it's not the whole story.
All right.
Most cases of hypertension are what we call primary or essential hypertension, meaning we don't have one single identifiable cause.
Right.
It's more like a puzzle with lots of different pieces.
So it's a bit of a mystery.
To some extent, yes.
Okay.
We know genetics plays a role. Some people are simply predisposed to high blood pressure.
Okay.
But lifestyle and environmental factors also contribute significantly.
Mm-hmm.
Things like diet, exercise, and smoking habits all come into play.
So if I'm understanding this correctly, it's not just one thing, it's a combination of factors that create the perfect storm for high blood pressure.
Exactly.
Right.
And because it's often asymptomatic,
Right.
meaning people don't feel any symptoms. Many don't even know they have it until it's caused significant damage.
So regular checkups are crucial.
Right. Absolutely.
Catch it early before it becomes a problem.
Detecting and managing hypertension early on is essential to prevent those long-term complications.
But you mentioned that sometimes there's a clear cause for high blood pressure.
Yeah.
What's that called again?
That's called secondary hypertension.
Right.
In these cases, the high blood pressure is actually a symptom of another underlying medical condition.
So it's like a red flag that something else is going on in the body.
Exactly.
Right.
This could be something like kidney disease, hormonal imbalances, or even certain medications.
So in those cases, it's all about treating the root cause to get the blood pressure under control.
Precisely.
So whether it's primary or secondary hypertension is something we need to take seriously and manage proactively.
Absolutely.
Right.
Understanding your own risk factors and making healthy lifestyle choices can go a long way in preventing or managing this silent threat.
Wow, we've covered a lot of ground already.
Yeah.
From the amazing adaptations during exercise to the life-threatening danger of shock and the silent threat of hypertension. It really makes you appreciate the incredible complexity of this circulatory system.
It truly is a remarkable system.
Yeah.
But it's not invincible.
Right.
Understanding how it responds to different types of stress, both acute and chronic, is crucial for making informed decisions about our health.
But we're just getting started. We've got much more to explore.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for part 2 of our deep dive,
Okay.
where we'll delve even deeper into the intricate world of the circulatory system under pressure.
Sounds good. Welcome back to our deep dive into the circulatory system under stress.
Yeah, it's amazing.
We've already covered a lot of ground,
Right.
from the body's remarkable adaptations during exercise to those truly scary scenarios like hemorrhage and shock.
It's amazing how our bodies can kick into survival mode like that
Yeah.
and prioritize resources when things get intense.
It is. And one of the key aspects of that survival mode is making sure the most vital organs get the resources they need, even if it means temporarily shortchanging others.
Okay.
It's like a triage system,
Yeah.
ensuring survival even in the most challenging situations.
So, like a triage nurse in an emergency room, the body has to make tough decisions about who gets treated first.
Exactly. And when we're talking about vital organs, the brain is at the top of the list.
Right.
It's the control center for everything, so it demands a constant supply of oxygen and glucose.
Yeah.
Even a brief interruption in blood flow can have serious consequences.
Yeah. We all know how important it is to keep the brain happy.
Yeah.
So how does the circulatory system protect the brain, especially when the body is under so much pressure?
Well, the brain has this amazing autoregulatory mechanism.
Okay.
So it has its own internal thermostat for blood flow.
Right.
This system helps maintain a consistent supply of blood, even when blood pressure is fluctuating all over the place.
So the brain can actually adjust its own blood supply.
Yeah, it's incredible.
It is. When blood pressure drops, the blood vessels in the brain dilate.
Okay.
They get wider.
Yeah. To allow more blood to flow through.
Right.
And if blood pressure rises, those same blood vessels constrict or narrow to prevent too much blood from rushing in and potentially causing damage.
So it's like a built-in safety valve for the brain.
Yeah.
So even during something like a hemorrhage or shock, when blood pressure can plummet,
Right.
the brain has a way to protect itself.
Exactly. This autoregulation is absolutely crucial for maintaining brain function, even in the most extreme situations.
Oh, okay. That makes sense for the brain. But what about other vital organs? How do they fare when the circulatory system is under pressure?
Well, let's talk about the heart itself.
All right.
After all, it's the engine that drives the entire circulatory system.
Right.
It obviously needs a constant supply of oxygen-rich blood to keep pumping.
And that's where the coronary arteries come in, right?
Yeah.
Those are the blood vessels that specifically supply the heart muscle.
That's right.
Okay.
They branch off from the aorta, which is the main artery leaving the heart. And they deliver oxygen-rich blood directly to the heart muscle itself.
But during times of stress, like during exercise or when the body's fighting an infection, the heart has to work harder, right? Doesn't that mean it needs even more oxygen?
Absolutely. As the heart's workload increases, so does its demand for oxygen.
Right.
It's like a car engine revving higher.
Yeah.
It needs more fuel to keep going.
So how does the heart get that extra oxygen? Do the coronary arteries just deliver more blood?
Exactly. They dilate or widen to allow more blood to flow through.
Okay.
And this dilation is triggered by a few different factors, including increased metabolic activity in the heart muscle itself.
Oh.
Basically, when the heart muscle cells are working harder, they release signals that tell the nearby blood vessels to open up wider.
So the heart muscle cells are saying, hey, we need more oxygen down here.
That's a great way to put it.
Right.
But it's not just local signals.
Okay.
The nervous system also plays a role, releasing neurotransmitters that tell those coronary arteries to dilate.
So it's a combination of local and systemic control, all working together to ensure the heart gets the oxygen it needs.
Exactly. The heart has to prioritize its own blood supply to keep functioning effectively, even when other parts of the body are demanding more resources.
It's like the heart knows that if it goes down, the whole system goes down.
Right.
Now, what about the lungs? They're obviously essential for getting oxygen into the bloodstream in the first place.
Yeah.
So I imagine they're also high on the priority list when it comes to blood flow.
Absolutely. The lungs have a unique circulatory system that's specifically designed to maximize gas exchange.
Right.
That's the process of taking in oxygen and releasing carbon dioxide.
So how is the circulatory system in the lungs different from the rest of the body?
Well, most organs receive more blood flow when their blood vessels dilate. That's the basic principle of how blood is directed where it's needed. But in the lungs, it's actually the opposite. Blood flow in the lungs increases when the blood vessels constrict or narrow.
Wait, that seems counterintuitive. Why would constriction increase blood flow? I thought constriction meant less blood flow.
It has to do with the unique structure of the pulmonary circulation, which is the circulation between the heart and the lungs. The pulmonary arteries, which carry deoxygenated blood from the heart to the lungs, are much thinner and more delicate than systemic arteries, which are the arteries throughout the rest of the body.
So they're more sensitive to changes in pressure.
Exactly. When blood pressure in the pulmonary arteries rises, the vessels constrict. This actually forces more blood through the tiny capillaries, which are the smallest blood vessels where gas exchange actually takes place.
So it's like squeezing a sponge to get more water out of it.
That's a great analogy. This constriction ensures that even when blood pressure is low, the lungs are still able to efficiently oxygenate the blood.
Wow, the body is so smart. But what happens if the lungs themselves are damaged or diseased? Can that affect the circulatory system?
Absolutely. Conditions like pneumonia, emphysema, or pulmonary hypertension can all disrupt the delicate balance of the pulmonary circulation. And if the lungs aren't able to effectively oxygenate the blood, the heart has to work even harder to compensate. This can eventually lead to heart failure.
So the health of our lungs is intricately connected to the health of our heart and the entire circulatory system.
It is.
It's all one big loop.
It is. It's a constant reminder that our bodies are complex and interconnected systems where every organ plays a vital role in keeping everything running smoothly.
Speaking of vital roles, let's talk about the kidneys. They don't always get the same attention as the heart or the lungs. But they're essential for filtering waste products from the blood and keeping our fluids in balance.
Absolutely. They receive about 20% of the heart's output at rest, which is a significant amount considering their relatively small size. That tells you just how much work they're doing all the time.
But we mentioned earlier that blood flow to the kidneys can be reduced during times of stress, like during exercise. Isn't that dangerous?
Well, when the sympathetic nervous system, that fight or flight response, is activated, it does constrict the blood vessels leading to the kidneys. It's diverting blood to those more immediately essential organs, like the heart, brain, and muscles.
So the kidneys are basically put on hold until the crisis is over.
You could say that. But it's important to remember that this reduction in blood flow is temporary.
So healthy kidneys can handle that without any problems.
Generally, yes. They're pretty resilient organs and can withstand these temporary fluctuations in blood flow.
But what if someone already has kidney problems? Is that reduction in blood flow risky for them?
That's a great question, and it's where things can get a little more complicated. If the kidneys are already compromised, even a brief reduction in blood flow can worsen their function.
Right.
It's like adding insult to injury.
So for people with kidney disease, it's even more important to avoid those stressful situations that could put extra strain on their kidneys.
Exactly. It's crucial for them to manage their condition carefully and be aware of those potential triggers.
Okay, so we've talked about the brain, the heart, the lungs, and the kidneys. What about the liver?
Sure.
It's another one of those organs that doesn't always get a lot of attention,
Yeah.
but it's doing a ton of work behind the scenes.
The liver is truly a workhorse.
Yeah.
It performs over 500 vital functions,
Wow.
including filtering toxins from the blood,
Right.
producing bile for digestion, and storing glucose for energy.
500 functions. That's amazing how much one organ can do.
I know, it's pretty incredible.
But does blood flow to the liver also get reduced during times of stress?
Yes, it can. Just like with the kidneys.
Yeah.
The sympathetic nervous system can constrict those blood vessels supplying the liver, diverting blood to those other vital organs that need it more urgently.
So the liver gets put on the back burner too.
In a sense, yes.
Okay.
But the liver has a fascinating adaptation that helps it deal with this.
Okay.
It has a large reserve capacity. That means it can function pretty well, even when its blood supply is reduced by as much as 50%.
Wow. So it's like it has a backup generator.
Exactly. This reserve capacity gives the liver some wiggle room during those stressful situations, allowing it to continue performing its essential functions.
But of course, there's a limit to how much it can tolerate.
Right.
If blood flow is severely restricted for a prolonged period, the liver can become damaged.
And I'm guessing that can lead to a whole host of problems, right? Liver damage can impair its ability to filter toxins, produce bile and regulate blood sugar, all essential functions. And that can have serious consequences for the entire body.
So it's yet another reminder that while the body is incredibly resilient, there are limits to how much stress it can handle.
Absolutely.
Now, we've been talking about a lot of organs that are involved in filtering and processing things. But what about the digestive system?
Sure.
It's not typically considered a vital organ in the same way as the heart or brain.
Right.
But it's obviously crucial for our survival.
Absolutely. The digestive system is responsible for breaking down food, absorbing nutrients, and eliminating waste products.
Right.
It might not seem as glamorous as the heart or brain. But we definitely couldn't live without it.
And I imagine it receives a significant amount of blood flow, especially after a meal, right? All those digestive processes must require a lot of energy.
That's right. Blood flow to the digestive system increases significantly after eating to support those processes of digestion and absorption. It's like sending in a crew of workers to clean up and rebuild after a big party.
But what happens when we're in a stressful situation? When the body is in that fight or flight mode? Does digestion just get put on hold?
Essentially, yes.
Okay.
Remember that sympathetic nervous system we keep talking about? Well, it kicks in again, constricting the blood vessels, supplying the digestive system, and diverting blood to those more essential organs.
So that explains why I often lose my appetite when I'm stressed.
Exactly. It's a perfectly natural physiological response.
Right.
Your body's prioritizing survival over digestion.
But can this prolonged reduction in blood flow to the digestive system have any negative consequences? Like, if someone is chronically stressed, could that lead to digestive problems?
It absolutely can.
Okay.
Chronic stress can disrupt the delicate balance of the digestive system, leading to problems like irritable bowel syndrome, IBS, heartburn, and even ulcers. It's another example of how stress, especially chronic stress,
can have ripple effects throughout the body.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot of the major organs, but there's one system that's often overlooked when we talk about circulation. The lymphatic system. I remember learning about it in school, but I honestly don't remember much about what it does.
The lymphatic system is often the unsung hero of the circulatory system.
Okay.
It's a network of vessels, tissues, and organs that helps maintain fluid balance in the body.
Right.
And plays a crucial role in immunity.
So it's like a parallel circulatory system, but instead of blood, it carries something else.
In a way, yes.
Okay.
Unlike the blood circulatory system, which is a closed loop.
Right.
The lymphatic system is a one-way system.
Okay.
It collects excess fluid from tissues and returns it to the bloodstream.
So it's like a drainage system for the body.
Right.
What exactly is this fluid that it's collecting?
It's called lymph.
Okay.
And it contains waste products, cellular debris,
right,
and even pathogens, those nasty bugs that can make us sick.
Think of it like the body's sanitation crew.
And this lymph is eventually returned to the blood.
Yes, but it's filtered through lymph nodes along the way.
Okay.
These lymph nodes are like little checkpoints where immune cells hang out,
Right.
ready to destroy any harmful substances they encounter.
So the lymphatic system is essentially a 2-for-1 deal. It's keeping our fluids balanced and helping our immune system fight off invaders.
That's a great way to put it. And it plays a crucial role in responding to stress, especially during infections or injuries.
So how does the lymphatic system kick into gear when we're injured or fighting off an infection?
Well, when tissues are damaged or infected, they release these chemical signals that cause nearby blood vessels to dilate, increasing blood flow to the area.
That makes sense. The body's sending in reinforcements to fight the infection or repair the damage.
Exactly. But this increased blood flow also leads to an accumulation of fluid in the tissues, which is what causes that swelling you often see around an injury.
So it's like a flood of reinforcements rushing to the scene.
That's a great analogy. And that's where the lymphatic system comes in.
Okay.
Those lymphatic vessels diligently drain this excess fluid, preventing excessive swelling and helping to clear out those waste products and pathogens.
So the lymphatic system is like a cleanup crew for the circulatory system.
Exactly. It's all about resolving inflammation and restoring balance.
But what happens if the lymphatic system itself is overwhelmed or damaged? Can it get sick, too?
It can.
Okay.
There's a condition called lymphedema, where fluid builds up in the tissues.
Right.
Because the lymphatic system isn't draining properly.
Okay.
This causes swelling and discomfort.
Yeah.
And it can be a chronic condition.
So it's like the drainage system is backed up. What causes lymphedema?
It can occur for various reasons, including infections, surgery, or radiation therapy.
Okay.
There's no cure for lymphedema. But treatments like compression garments and manual lymphatic drainage can help manage the symptoms.
So it sounds like the lymphatic system plays a much bigger role than most people realize.
It really does, and it highlights just how interconnected all of these systems are. The circulatory system, the lymphatic system, the immune system, the organs they serve.
Yeah.
It's all working together in this incredible symphony of life.
Well, we've certainly covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
We have.
From the brain to the kidneys, the liver, the digestive system, and even that unsung hero, the lymphatic system.
Yeah.
It's amazing how the body can adapt and respond to all these different types of stress.
I know it is.
Both acute and chronic.
It is, and it underscores just how important it is to take care of our bodies and support these vital systems. We may not always be aware of the incredible work they're doing, but they're keeping us alive and functioning every minute of every day.
I think I need to go drink a big glass of water and thank my circulatory system for all its hard work.
That's a great idea.
But before we do that, there's even more to explore.
Okay.
Stay tuned for part 3 of our deep dive.
Sounds good.
Where we'll zoom in on those fascinating cellular level responses to stress.
Great.
Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into the circulatory system under stress.
We've already explored how entire organs adapt and prioritize blood flow, when things get tough.
It's amazing how coordinated our bodies are, even when, facing those fight or flight situations.
Right. It really highlights the interconnectedness of everything.
Yeah.
From the pumping of your heart to the filtering of your kidneys.
Exactly. But now I'm curious, what's happening at an even smaller level?
Okay.
What's going on inside individual cells when the circulatory system is under pressure?
Well, imagine you're a single cell deep within a tissue, and suddenly the oxygen levels start to drop.
Like a tiny neighborhood experiencing a power outage.
That's a great analogy. This oxygen shortage, which doctors call hypoxia, triggers a cascade of events within the cell.
So it's like a microscopic emergency response team kicks into action.
Precisely. And leading the charge is a protein called hypoxia-inducible factor, or HIF for short.
So HIF is like the captain of the emergency response team. What does it do?
Well, first it tries to make the best of a bad situation by switching the cell to anaerobic metabolism.
Anaerobic, does that mean without oxygen?
You got it. It's like switching to a backup generator when the power goes out.
So the cell can still function even without its normal oxygen supply.
Exactly. But there's a catch.
Oh, yeah.
Anaerobic metabolism isn't as efficient.
Right.
And it produces lactic acid as a byproduct.
Uh-huh. So that's what causes that burning sensation in our muscles during a tough workout.
Yeah.
Our cells are literally running on fumes and producing those acidic waste products.
That's exactly what's happening. But HIF is a multitasking marvel.
Right.
And it doesn't stop there.
What else does it do?
It also stimulates the production of something called vascular endothelial growth factor, or VEGF.
Okay, VEGF, that one sounds familiar, but uh, remind me what it does.
VEGF is like a construction foreman.
Okay.
It tells the body to build new blood vessels,
Right.
a process called angiogenesis.
So it's like calling in a construction crew to build new roads to deliver supplies to that oxygen-deprived neighborhood.
Another perfect analogy. These new blood vessels help restore oxygen supply to the tissues that need it most.
Wow, that's incredible. The body is literally building new infrastructure at a microscopic level to adapt to stress.
It's a testament to the remarkable resilience of living organisms,
Right.
even down to the level of individual cells.
Okay, so we've got HIFs switching to backup power
Yeah.
and VEGF building new roads. What other cellular wonders are happening during times of stress?
Well, let's talk about inflammation.
Isn't inflammation a bad thing? I was associated with like pain and swelling.
That's true. Those are the classic signs of inflammation,
Oh.
but it's actually a protective response designed to contain damage and kickstart healing.
So how does the circulatory system fit into all of this?
Well, when tissues are injured,
Mm-hmm.
they release chemical signals that act like a distress beacon,
Okay.
and the circulatory system responds like a first responder.
Right.
Those chemical signals cause nearby blood vessels to dilate,
Okay.
increasing blood flow to the injured area.
That makes sense. The body needs to deliver immune cells and other healing factors to the site of the injury.
Precisely. This increased blood flow is what causes the redness and warmth you see with inflammation.
And what about the swelling? What causes that?
Well, those dilated blood vessels also become more permeable,
Okay.
which means they get a little leaky.
Leaky blood vessels. That doesn't sound good.
Don't worry, it's all part of the plan. It allows fluid and immune cells to leak out of the blood vessels and into the surrounding tissues.
So it's like a flood of reinforcements rushing to the scene of the injury.
That's a great way to visualize it.
Right.
Those immune cells, like neutrophils and macrophages, are like the body's soldiers.
Yeah.
They engulf and destroy pathogens and cellular debris.
Sounds like a microscopic battleground.
It is. And while the battle rages, the inflammatory process also triggers the release of growth factors that stimulate tissue repair.
So inflammation is really a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
It's essential for healing, but it can also cause some collateral damage in the process.
Exactly. And that's why chronic inflammation,
Right.
where this response is constantly activated,
Yeah.
is linked to various diseases.
So managing stress and keeping inflammation in check is crucial for our long-term health.
Absolutely. Our lifestyle choices, what we eat, how much we exercise, how well we sleep, how we manage stress, they all play a role in regulating inflammation.
Wow. This deep dive has really opened my eyes to the incredible complexity and adaptability of the circulatory system.
It's a system that's constantly working behind the scenes, keeping us alive and functioning, even when we're not aware of it.
From the large-scale adjustments of blood flow to those microscopic cellular responses, it's a true marvel of nature.
And understanding how it all works, especially under pressure, empowers us to make choices that support its health.
So the next time you feel your heart beating, take a moment to appreciate the incredible symphony of adaptations happening within you,
Right.
from the level of your organs down to the tiniest cells.
Absolutely.
Well, we hope you've enjoyed this deep dive into the circulatory system under stress.
It's been a fascinating journey exploring the incredible resilience and adaptability of this vital system.
We encourage you to keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep into the wonders of your own body.
Until next time, stay curious and keep those hearts pumping.
Thanks for joining us.